Hi guys, my name is Shakira Williams. This is my channel, Shakira's Creative Corner. Today I will be wrapping up the past little videos about mental health awareness, inspiration, and in my mental health awareness and memoir, The Dealt Hand, that I did a highlight of. Today I won't be talking about the books at all. I'm going to talk about a little bit about mental health awareness and wrapping up because May is Mental Health Awareness Month. It is 2023 now. We are coming out of May in a few days or a day or so. When this video is posted, it will probably be a day left in May. Um, I just want to talk about mental health awareness, what it means to me, where I feel that we are in mental health 2023. Um, I kind of feel like we have rolled back in our pursuits to raise awareness and stop stigma or break stigma. I was diagnosed with my mental health disability, which is bipolar disorder. And I'm not ashamed to say bipolar disorder because millions of Americans and people across the world battle that diagnosis or mental health disability. Before they came out with DSM-5 and DSM-4, it was considered a mood disorder. Now you have two categories of bipolar disorder: bipolar 1 and bipolar 2. And depending on whether you suffer from more depressive episodes or manic episodes determines whether you're bipolar 1 or bipolar 2. Um, that's a little bit about just the diagnosis part about bipolar disorder or bipolar 1, bipolar 2. That's kind of my little classification for the branch of a mental health disability that I fall under as far as my main diagnosis. Now, let's talk about mental health awareness. For me, being aware is understanding or seeking and trying to understand what it is to have a mental health disability or have a loved one, friend, colleague, have a mental health disability and strive to not discriminate against them, abuse them, hurt them, or add to the disability that they already have in a form of manipulation, control, or some kind of stigma about that individual group or people or individuals who have mental illness. I think we have to remember that mental health is not the only group of individuals or category that has stigma, that has discrimination, that has people living in silence because they don't want to be stigmatized. But for this video, we'll be talking about mental health awareness as a whole. There's a lot to be said about where mental health, how far mental health goes back, especially over here in the United States. And just with that being said, we went from asylums, prisons, being chained to prisons and rooms and isolated and all those different things. And about 10 years ago, maybe even 15 years ago, I would have said we made a big leap. But now with the recent involved with things that I can't say so much, but with the recent issues that we see in mass media or social media, things happening to individuals with mental illness, various occurrences that are common in our society today, that is leading to people being hurt or having dangerous situations arise because they're having an episode or someone's misunderstanding the episode to be a threat or um, for them to be someone that would do harm and fear of the individual or person with a mental illness or mental health disability. So where do we go? Where people were once being chained to rooms and all this kind of stuff. It's not as inhumane as it was maybe 50, 60, 70 years ago. It's not that 80 or more years ago. It's not that inhumane, but still it is dangerous to identify or be someone with a mental health disability or fall under that category and someone misunderstand a stressful situation that you're having to for you to be a person that's going to do some harm or hurt someone when you're really not. You're just having an issue and you need some support and you need some help, and the people that or the person that is supposed to be of some kind of understanding knowledge base of what you're going through, they misunderstand what's happening and something bad arises. You're put in jail or arrested or sent somewhere where you probably don't even need to go. You just needed some crisis intervention at that time to help you with whatever you were going through. And a lot of times, individuals with mental illness have those issues, and unfortunately, they do not get the proper help that they need. Some do, who are very good in those moments due to their experience with having their mental health disability to be able to communicate, this is what's going on and this is what's happening with me. And I'm not a threat. I just need some help or some support. But for those, especially teenagers or children or even young adults that don't have the years of experience to be able to know how to communicate to law enforcement or some personnel who are in that field of helping individuals with mental illness or trying to help individuals with mental illness, it can be hard, of course, yes, for those personnel or professionals, but it can also be challenging for the individuals with the mental health diagnosis or disability to be able to communicate, especially if it's new to them, just as much as it may be new to the personnel who may not be as seasoned, or just throwing out kind of issues that may arise for the personnel and I can understand being afraid if you're um not used to coming in contact with someone struggling in that moment that may or may not be a threat to you, or you may fear that. I think that is the dialogue that we need to have, especially with organizations like National Alliance on Mental Illness, SAMHSA for the substance abuse and addiction. Those are the kind of conversations we need to have, being candid about the fact that, yes, personnel who are new to law enforcement or new to social work or whatever the helping profession is that are dealing with individuals with mental illness, they can't be scared because of the way that society paints the picture of what mental illness looks like. A lot of times, individuals can be scared of individuals who are battling mental health challenges and in crisis. But we need to uh, um, bring the fear that people have or individuals have to light and conquer that fear so that individuals with mental illness can also not have fear that something's going to happen to them and vice versa. We need to normalize the fact that both sides have some kind of fear. And how do we normalize it to a point that everyone across the board understands the levels to it? Yes, there are those extreme cases where you do have personnel that are seasoned, but this particular individual with that addiction or mental health issue or both at the same time is having a really, really hard time. And it does get dangerous pretty quickly because they're struggling. And then there's also like there's a misunderstanding as to what's actually happening with this person. And it is one of those, what I would say, high risk cases where it is dangerous for both parties. And that's understood, and that's a lot of times why when individuals with mental illness are transported or shipped or for hospitals, for hospitalizations to the emergency room, to a different facility or whatever, they oftentimes do handcuff individuals with mental illness for those reasons, to try to protect that person as well as the personnel that's working or trying to get that person to their destination. But the saddest part about that being the mechanism or the um what's put in place to try to help and support us for someone, let's say you're 16 or 17 or whatever age you may be, and you're not aware that that is a protocol or a practice. It can be traumatizing, especially if you in your mind you see handcuffs and stuff like that as a person who has committed a crime, and not handcuffs for a person to be transported or traveled from hospital wherever the destination is, and not understanding that this is a practice to get you to where you need to be safe for you and for us that are transporting you. I understand that after 19 years of going through different challenges, for the people who are younger or even older and have never had that experience or are not aware that things have changed and this is what we do. State to state, I can't really say what we do, but I know in North Carolina, individuals with mental illness and anybody under that umbrella that has to be transported to a facility, especially for inpatient hospitalization. That is how they transport that individual, unless they consider them low risk. They're not suicidal or homicidal. You may not run into that, but if you specifically, if you are homicidal or suicidal, they feel you're a danger to others or yourself. That's those two. Usually they're gonna handcuff you just to make sure they get you saved. They don't want you to harm yourself or anyone else. So for those who maybe have had mental illness but have never had those thoughts or feelings at all, they could arise later on in your life. I just want you to be aware that they do that for your safety and for the safety of whoever is transporting you. And a lot of times it's law enforcement that is doing that, or some other agency that also acts or practices like security wise. So I'm gonna kind of stop this video here. Those are the things that I wanted to talk about. I wanted to shed some light on a little bit of that, but also just to wrap the video up, I encourage everyone, whether you know someone, whether you are someone, to educate yourself about mental health awareness, because as the struggles of life come, especially past the issues that we had in 2020. Don't know if I can really use that word. I'm new to YouTube, but I'll just say the issues that arise in 2020. We all know what that major issue was that we all experienced in a world change in 2020. A lot of people are still being impacted by the stress of all of that. A lot of people suffered a lot of loss as far as losing loved ones to the illness that was major in 2020 and still an issue today. Many people lost people they cared about, spouses, husbands, fiancés, even children, parents. People are still grieving those losses. People are still trying to build back jobs that was lost, homes that was lost. There was a lot of loss, as much as there was a lot of people starting and creating businesses. That's great, that's amazing. I was able to start a few things myself, but there was a lot another side of society that had a lot of loss. And anytime you have loss, whether it be financial, job, whatever the loss is, there's a grieving process, even if it's not a person that you lost, because you lost what your normal was, what was normal to you. When you lose that, there is a grieving process to that. I now know, with my background in social work and all that kind of stuff and my degrees, grief is not just for death. You can grieve anything. Anything you lose or that's traumatizing or hurtful or detrimental to what was once normal to you, it can cause grief trauma. So I think now, as we go ahead and move past the big major issue we had in 2020, I believe that we need to get ready, because there's going to be a shift of people who may still not know what's happening to them and may not be properly diagnosed, that are going to need some support. And it may be someone you love. You may even be already seeing changes in this person right now as a loved one, friend, colleague, or whatever, and they're grieving, they're hurting, they've lost a lot, they went through a lot of trauma. All of us did, as a nation, United States, and as the world at large. So I wrap this up by saying mental health awareness is important. We need to get in the forefront of trying to educate ourselves, love on those who we know have mental illness. This is Shakira Williams. I'm wrapping my video up at the end. Bye bye. Don't forget, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. October has a week, I believe it's the first or second week, that is Mental Health Awareness Week. The color and ribbon is green.